Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of The Other Side of Addiction. I am your host, Al Richards, and we've got the one and only J.D. Greenouch here with us.
I'm happy to be here again every week. This is the highlight of my week. So yeah, again, and thank you again, Al, for having me be your co-host and the way the event's formed for me to be that. And again, I got to give a big thanks to Brad for everything that he does for us. So. Yeah. Brad does a ton of work for us behind the scene, and so does Charity. Yeah, and Charity.
Yeah, Charity's going to be here pretty soon to pull out her camera and get some photos. So that's been a new addition, which has been really cool. Hey, we want to let you guys know that this episode is brought to you with from one of our very special sponsors, and that is Lift Up Concrete out of Kaysville, Utah. So if you guys have settled or sunken concrete, I highly suggest getting a hold of Lift Up Concrete out of Kaysville. Gregory and his wife Tosh are incredible people, and Gregory is in the business to please his customers, and that's what I love about him. I've been doing business with this guy for 7 years, and we've never had a call back of anybody being disappointed with what he does. So, guys, thank you. So we have a couple really special guests on the show, and I know I say that every week because every single one of our guests are very special to us, because JD and I get to learn a lot about our guests. They get to learn a lot about us, and there's a lot of love and inspiration that we get from every single guest that comes on this show. So we have Portia and Chad Louder. So guys, thank you so much.
Good to be here.
Yeah, for taking time and being here. And I watched the episode, Portia, that you did with Brad.
Yeah?
Yeah, and I loved it. And Brad reached out to me and he goes, you gotta see if you can get this gal on the show. And I think you and I finally touched base, and yeah, you shared with me some stuff that was going on with your life, and I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, we definitely got to have you on. So tell us a little bit more about yourself. Are you originally from Utah, you and Chad?
Yeah, I will. I grew up in Utah, in southern Utah, in Richfield, small town.
Oh, I love Richfield.
Yeah, you love it unless you grew up there.
Well, yeah, I guess that's probably because it's so close to 12 Mile. That's why.
No, Richfield's great. I have so many good friends from Richfield, and I think a fun childhood. My parents were they were anti-vaxxers before anti-vaxxers existed. So my parents, we lived out on the outskirts of a small town and grew up with organic vegetables and fruit and all of the healthy kind of things. My mom was a hippie before people were hippies.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's a country place, Richfield, right?
It's kind of a country place, yeah. But anyway, I'm the oldest of 7 children. I was raised without structure, so we were very creative. Our childhood was fun. We played and we built and we did a lot of fun things. But I think the lack of structure for me was a little frustrating as the oldest child. And by the time I was 13, I was a pretty rebellious kid. And I started partying. I would say that the bigger problem for me was relationships, just really not knowing who I was and what my worth was. And so that continued. Not really into drugs, mostly alcohol. And then got pregnant young. I was 17 and ended up having 2 children by the time I was 21. And I left that town. My dad got a job up here in Salt Lake area, and I moved up here. And I still wasn't done. More events led to, I guess what you would say is a bottom, my first bottom, and I reached out for help. And that was the first time that I understood that I had an addiction. Prior to that, reaching out for help, I had become addicted to prescription drugs, and then eventually to street drugs. And I was a pretty poor mother at that point. I came home late one night to my son who was sick, and my mother was caring for him. And she just looked at me and said, I don't even know what it would take for you to change. Like, what would it be that would mean enough to you to change your life? And that night I took my son downstairs and I just laid on the floor and I cried and I reached out to God in a way I never had. I didn't really have much faith even though my parents were members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I had quit going to church in my early teens, and I just, I said that prayer. I said, I don't care if I'm ever happy again. Just please help me find a way to not hurt the people I love anymore. That was really what I wanted. And the next day I went over to our bishop across the street. I knew who he was. I hadn't gone to church, but I asked him for help. And he recommended that I go with one of his friends to an AA meeting. And that was life-changing for me, because for the first time, I realized I had something. There was a problem bigger than just my willpower, because I had tried so many times. I had made promises that I couldn't keep to myself and to my children. And when I saw other people stand up and share their story, and they had recovery, they had light, I knew not only had I found that I had this serious problem, but I had found the solution. And I had hope. It was the hardest thing I had ever done up to that point. I spent a year going to meetings and was really insecure. I remember not trusting any thoughts that I had, just wanted to stay sober. There were times that it was very difficult for me to stay sober. And I did also go back to church. My bishop promised me that if I did, my life would change if I read my scriptures and I went to church. And I did those things even though I didn't really feel very comfortable at church. And my life changed. Within a year, I really truly felt free. And I remember thinking, if I would have known how good life could be, but it was better than it ever was before I got addicted to drugs. It was like, I almost feel like I was born with some kind of an emptiness in me. And it took just a humbling and leveling experience for me to come to know that there was a different way to live, that there was help, that I could, by connecting to others, by serving, by admitting my own weaknesses, that I would find a strength greater than my own in a relationship with a loving, all-powerful God. And my life changed. Chad and I, we were married. We went to the temple. He's kind of amazing. He raised my 2 children and adopted them. We went to the temple together, which was like this huge thing for me, because I certainly didn't think I would ever be able to go to the temple. I mean, temples are all over, and I'm like, I recently spoke to some other women. I said, maybe you guys don't know, but like for a girl like me to go to the temple, it was a big deal. I mean, I like wearing garments. Yeah. Some of you guys all don't like that, but I'm a girl that feels quite comfortable at that because I worked so hard to get my life together. And it was a combination of my faith and what I found in these support group meetings. So I still go to AA meetings because I find humility, and I try to go in places where I know people are just coming in off the streets, because that's where I find it's amazing to me that people can recover from this, because it's such a big deal. And so that's where I go. But that was the beginning. I would like to tell you that, butterflies and unicorns, we lived happily ever after. Chad would probably like to tell you that too. That was, Chad knew me in the early part of, when I got sober the first time. And I think he told me, he said, I really love you, but I just don't know if you're going to be able to do this. Like, it just seems so hard. Yeah. It was hard. And I couldn't have done it alone, and so we built a life. I had 4.5 years sober, built a business. Chad's career was going well, and I relapsed, and it took me to a pretty rough place. Took our family to a pretty rough place.
Did you find, Portia, that after being sober and clean and then relapsing, did you feel like it came back harder than it was at the beginning? Because I know my wife, she drank and she was still kind of okay. And then she went 13 months sober. But it's like when she took a drink of that alcohol, it's like the frickin' devil just got inside of her that exact moment, because within 48 hours, she was a whole different woman. And I watched the alcohol take her down a deeper rabbit hole than she had ever been in. Mm-hmm. And I've heard other people in AA meetings say that, they got clean whether it was 6 months or 3 months or a year or whatever,
Yeah.
and then they hit it again, that basically their whole life imploded at that moment.
I think that is a pretty realistic scenario when you relapse. I feel like the minute I take a substance into my body, it changes me. It changes my brain. The scariest part about that is that I then trick myself to think that I'm doing just fine. And it's because, I have used, especially prescription drugs, for so many years in order to survive, in order to function in life. Like I had a therapist say, drugs aren't your problem, they're your solution to everything. Like you don't see drugs as your problem, you don't know how to live without drugs. And, I'll share in a minute about that I ended up going to prison, and I think I needed the time because it's so insidious. It tricks me. And when I relapsed, when I finally hit my bottom, which for me was when I really got to prison, and the reality of my situation was very painful for me, because up to that point I was in denial, and I think you can use prescription drugs and be an active LDS person or Mormon. I was that, you know?
Yeah.
In my younger years, I think in a way using street drugs, it was less acceptable. It's like, you have a problem because these are illegal, right? But when the doctor's giving them to you and you're using them to manage everything, I had tricked myself. And also I was terrified. My judgment became much worse. I was very prideful because I had been a part of a recovery organization that I didn't want to admit that I had fallen after 4.5 years. So I didn't go back and get help. Now I can see the only one that mattered was me and my family. I was so worried about what people thought. Come on, But once I landed in prison, I realized, oh yeah, I have taken it to a whole new level. But it took me a while to realize how far off I was. And Chad will tell you, I can use drugs and most people around me will just be like, she's doing great. That's the scary part. Alcohol has a little different vibe with it, but I can use prescription drugs. Like a lot of the people I worked with that even knew would say, I never know with you. You don't nod off. You're busy. You get up in the morning. You go to work, Yeah. But my judgment was, that conscience that I had inside, that integrity, very lacking. My connection to my children, very lacking. I have so many regrets about that time because it doesn't matter what things appeared to be. I carried the weight of the world. There were many times that I just felt so broken. And I had kind of come to a place where I thought, there's no hope for me. I'm going to die this way. Like, I just didn't have the fight in me anymore to fight this. It just felt so overwhelming and heavy and big. And maybe I just needed to go a little deeper to prison to hit a bottom that my friends and I used to say, well, we've burned it to the ground now.
Yeah.
Now where do we go? And it's like, well, you have to start building or climbing. I say if I have one skill, it's to climb out of a deep hole. But I'm tired. I am tired of that. I'm too old to keep climbing with the energy I used to have, and I've been home now from prison for 2.5 years, and I have just little moments are so precious to me. Our 19-year-old daughter this morning, she came in and she said, Mom, I said, hey, what's up, Sadie? And she goes, I love you. I hope you have a good day. That's a huge thing for someone like me, because I really hurt her. And but I've worked really hard the last couple of years to earn her trust back and to be a good example to her, and that those things are so valuable to me. So
well, we had a guest on the show quite a few months ago. Her daughter came in with her, just like Chad came in with you, and her daughter shared for the very first time what it was like having a mom that was an addict. And
that'd be hard to hear.
Her daughter struggled for a while throughout the show to really say what she wanted to say because she didn't want to hurt her mom's feelings,
right.
And her mom kept saying, it's okay. I remember she kept grabbing her hand, saying, it's okay, I can handle it.
Yeah.
And she finally started getting things out there. The connection that you could see those two make at that time, because this lady left her kids to basically, she just thought it was better to leave her kids to go out and do what she was doing with the drugs and alcohol than to stay there and do what she was doing with the drugs and alcohol. Well, the kids looked at it as, we're not important.
Right.
She's abandoned us. The drugs and alcohol are more than people, more important than we are.
Yeah.
And to see those two see each other's perspective on it, that, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. That connection that day was so powerful to know that love and their relationship is building every single day. And it's so cool to see that. So I can imagine how something a lot of us would take for granted, saying, I love you, how huge that is.
Yeah.
Because you don't get a lot of I love yous and the hugs and stuff, right? If you're locked up in prison, because it's a whole different atmosphere, right?
Well, I was just talking to Chad about that on my way here, and I said, I wonder what it would be like for me now to go back. Been home for like 2.5 years. Because when I first got there, it was a total shock to my system. These people are crazy. I don't want to be around them, Yeah. And I'm thinking, like, I had a wall around me, And within a couple of years, when I started to own my part of the things that I had done, I found this amazing compassion and love that we shared because we were going through something so challenging together. And I started to get to know their stories. And then I actually, when I came home, it was challenging for me. I missed the connection. I missed that love that, here we have cell phones. We don't have any of that there. There, my neighbor lives right next to me. So I'm like, hey friend, how are you? I heard your brother's sick. Is he doing okay? Here it's like, I don't even know what's going on with my neighbor. So I missed that, but it took a while. And, I just wonder if I went back, what that would be like. I know by the time I left prison, I really felt good about myself, and I felt so much love for the women there and the challenges that they faced, and hopeful for my future. And I honestly want to go back. I want to go back. I want to hug them all. I want to go back, and I don't want to really spend the night, but I do want to go back.
Yeah, you don't want to pack a suitcase.
I just want to go hang out. Just want to go sit in the sun, get up early in the morning and walk out on a bench and have no responsibilities for just a day or two,
Yeah.
Sleep in my bunk with, no kids coming in and bugging me all night. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I think that in prison, many of us dream about those moments. That's the difference. We talk about it, how much it would mean to us. The things that we want and that we dream about aren't big, grandiose things. They're just, like, I will tell you, I have one of my best friends. She's out of prison now, too, and she called me the other day, and she goes, guess what, Portia? I'm getting a comforter for my son. You know what that means? He's going to come stay with me. She's like, do you know how symbolic this is? I've been crying all morning about it, and it's just like, I love that. I love that we share the simple beauty of things that maybe you wouldn't understand if you hadn't been away from your kids, but it's also the most painful thing,
Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, but how long were you in prison?
I was in federal prison for 4.5 years. I spent a few months in a county jail as well, but I was in California for a year and then 3 years in Minnesota. So it was a ways away. Like, I saw my family once every 6 months to a year. And then I was in Victorville, California. I did most of my time in a higher security institution, and the last 6 months I did at a camp in California. So I was gone for a while.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a long time. I hear women that'll be like, I did 30 days. It was the hardest thing I ever did. And I work at a treatment center, so I'm just like, oh, it's okay. I love you.
Yeah, it's all right.
You'll be okay. Or they'll say, new girls will come in and they'll just be tore up about their perceived problems. And one of the other girls at the treatment center will say, whatever you've been through, Portia's been through more. So you don't even want to go there.
Yeah, well, I've met people and stuff where, they've gone in for just an overnight, and they're like, oh,
Right? It takes,
I was in holding for 24 hours and then they let me out. And that was it's like,
horrible. Yeah. County jails are notorious for misery, though. You do sit in holding cells, and not that there's some. Well, you'll have to read the book.
Yeah. Yeah, I like how she said, you're just going to have to read the book.
You're going to have to read the book. Because it talks about all of that. County jail and federal prison and the beauty and the hard and, all
I love it.
that stuff.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
No,
Go ahead,
sorry.
JD.
So obviously going through this challenge. So you guys married and have been together prior to this, right? I'm gonna ask.
That's where I was
Chris,
going.
how-
So, yeah.
Yeah, let Chad take this. Take the mic.
The strength that you had. Obviously, I'm just pointing out that a lot of people in that situation usually have a hard time sticking by somebody's side through it all. Like,
For sure.
reality wise, that's a long time being apart from your significant other. The challenge that have been preceded, the thoughts of, is this going to happen again?
Mm-hmm.
The things that you go through and stuff. What was it internally that was able to keep you and give you the strength to stick by her side and to not give up?
Man, I don't know. That's a great question. I think that there came a time where I wanted to just decide, do I really love her? Do I really, we've been married for 10 years and had 4 kids, but I'm still asking myself, this is pretty serious. And I pretty quickly determined, I really do love her. I really do believe in her. I really, I want to do everything I can to support her, to support our family, and hopefully that's all going to work out.
That's and for what you went through here, Chad. I mean, my wife never went to prison. She did go to jail a number of times, and I asked that same question. I mean, I had people telling me, "Why don't you just leave?" Because my life was hell when she was in the depths of her addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my life was a living hell, and it was driving me flipping crazy. I mean, so bad to where I've shared this before, to where 2 years ago this past June, I was on my way home to get my pistol and go up in the mountains. I was going to end my own life because I could not deal coming home to it anymore. I'd file divorce, and then she'd come out, and I'm like, okay, well, all right, well, things are good and things are going good. Okay, cancel the divorce. And it's like, as soon as I did, bam, she'd kick me right between the legs again, And it's like, file divorce again, and then everything's good, and bam, I get kicked again.
Yeah.
And for me, I did a ton of praying, and I kept asking myself that same thing. Do I really love her? Do I love her enough to stick this out? Because there at the end, it was starting to get abusive, where she was hitting me, throwing stuff at me. I mean, I had to file a protection order against her. And man, that hurts when you're filing a protection order against somebody that you care about, and you're not doing it to hurt them. You feel like you're doing it to protect yourself as well. But something kept telling me, and I don't know if it was the spirit or God or what, but something just kept telling me to stick around and be by her. Because while other people were pushing her under the rug, I was always that person that she could still call and count on for help. Now, it got to the point to where, when she was drunk, she was out the door. I had to start setting my own boundaries, as addicts have to set their boundaries as they're going through what they're going through. But I'm glad JD asked that question, because man, I tip my hat off to you, because when she was in rehabs for like 6 months, that freaking killed me. I can't imagine 4.5 years.
We can't either.
All
the time. We always say that. We're like, how do we do that? How do we do that? I think that it's worth noting that there is no way that I could have become the person that I became or gone through that experience without Chad and the love that he has for me and our family.
Yeah.
It was such a strength to me, and has really changed the way I see myself, because Chad has seen the best in me, honestly, from the time we got married. I mean, he saw better in me than I could see in myself. But on top of that, especially when I was in prison, you know, one of the biggest challenges with women in prison and addicts in general is they don't know their worth. They don't know their value.
Yeah.
They don't know they have something to fight for. A lot of us don't even, we've lived such chaotic lives, we don't know that we could make a contribution, or that we, you know, we just can't envision it. And Chad saw something in me that I rose to. And I really, you know, I have a very solid and connected relationship with my Father in heaven. And that comes first for me, because I have to have that in my life. Like, that's what, you know, that's my foundation. But the whole time that I was in prison, I truly felt special because I'm his wife. And that's not something that other women had, a lot of them, you know. And in fact, most of the women in there called him Good Guy Chad.
Good guy, Chad.
They'd be like, well, I remember I was at the rec yard one day and I was talking to a gal in prison, and she goes, what's going on with that new law, that new prison law? And I said, well, Chad said it's this way. She goes, well, Chad said it's true.
That's true. That's how it is.
We trust him. He's a good guy, Chad.
So in that moment, you were in California and Missouri, right?
California and Minnesota.
Minnesota. So, and you guys lived here in Utah, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So in that too, I mean, distance-wise, it's not like you could go over every Thursday at 2:30 for visitation.
No, we didn't see each other much.
Yeah.
No.
And they give you 300 minutes. At least in county jail and state, they give you more unlimited phone time. So we had four phone calls a week at 15 minutes each. That was our only communication. Well, and then we had one 25-minute video visit on the weekend. But very limited. I would say a total of like 350, 400 minutes that we can talk. And we could email. I don't know how to explain it, other than just what we did have became deeper. And I don't know. Chad's kind of amazing, because I don't know how many men could do that.
Yeah.
He did.
There's not a lot. I mean, I'm seriously, there's not a lot.
I know. I know. I know.
I get asked that same thing. Is like, how the hell did you stick it out?
Yeah.
Now, my situation was still different than with Chad, because you're away somewhere. Like JD just said, you can't show up every Thursday and say, I am here for a visit. You know, plus he's holding a family together.
Oh yeah.
I mean, my wife and I, the kids are gone. They're all on their own. You're sitting here taking care of a whole family as well, plus there for a bit questioning, is this really what I want to do? I mean, I'm sure you thought a few times, because I know I did, just being honest. It's like, I know I can go find something better, you know?
I don't know if you questioned it once I went to prison. You probably did leading up to that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I think just a lot of uncertainty, a lot of, you know, pain, a lot of looking at past choices and, you know, how did we get here?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that all, you know, those things all play into it. But
Well, I definitely tip my hat off to you, Chad. I mean, because that's a lot to take on.
Well, I can see too, talking about that, I'm just thinking about like my own scenario and stuff dealing with my wife. She's been doing a lot better, but she usually will have her 1 or 2 year slip up kind of situation. But anyways, going through all that, what you guys are going through up until the event of prison, and was it, and again, this is my own fault for not reading the bio, but did you go to prison? Like, I'm sorry to ask,
No, go
but
ahead.
was it busted on drugs, like something drug related? Obviously that's what you guys had, alcohol and drug issues, you know,
Right, so-
bigger things going on.
So my addiction was very complicit in my crime, but I went to prison for real estate fraud. So I guess I probably should have given you that quick history, but after I relapsed, we were actually doing quite well in our lives. Chad had a good career, and I had built a pretty successful photography business in Utah, and I would sometimes leave the state and go photograph weddings. And then we started having more children, and I ended up having a back surgery, and I relapsed. The relapse progressed, and we built a home in Highland, and then I started investing in real estate, thinking, well, I'm too busy. So I'm going to get into this, you know, looking for kind of a quick fix. And then I got involved in what was called at the time, in like that 2008 era, the equity deals, where people would buy a house and pull equity out of them. And there were a series of events that were unfortunate, a series of unfortunate events. But the bottom line is that I did things that I shouldn't have and was investigated and ended up indicted, and then drugged that out for a long time and ended up walking into a courtroom. And I was facing 0 to 7 years, and the judge gave me 7. And
gave you the max.
He gave me the max. And I think he kind of saw me as an entitled person, I guess, living in Highland, Utah, and that I didn't need money, so I didn't have to get involved. And for what he was not happy that it had taken so long to get to that place. But in the end, what really mattered for me was that, the judge was aware that I had an addiction. But in the end, what worked out well for me was that Chad and I were in that courtroom together. It was a very life-changing experience. I felt quite alone when I was sitting in the front of the room. And when I turned around and looked at my family and Chad, it changed something in me. It gave me a lot of strength, and I knew that we would get through it. I knew we would. And Chad stood up that day and asked the judge. He pled for me with the judge. He did a lot better job than my lawyer. I don't think the judge could say no. He gave me
Did you bill her?
The judge actually let Chad speak?
He did. Yeah,
Wow.
He said, I want to hear from Chad. He liked Chad. Chad's more likable than me. Good guy, Chad. But yeah, he gave Chad what he asked for, which was time for me to say goodbye to my kids. And my lawyer hadn't been able to procure that yet, so I was like, wait. But we walked out knowing that in 8 weeks he would take me to California and I would be there for 4.5 years. Well, 7, but I minimized that down. But yeah, it was a big deal. So
I could start getting emotional talking about. I can't imagine saying, as my grandma says, don't ever say goodbye. But I just can't imagine saying goodbye to your family. That, holy crap, that had to be so hard. Leaving your husband, your kids. I mean, for me, that would cause me to go back into my addiction if I could do it in prison.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, it would, because it would be so heartbreaking for me,
It was heartbreaking and it was devastating. And I couldn't have done it without the power of God and without the support of Chad. But in the end, I wanted to get sober. I wanted to live free, and I had committed to that when I went to prison.
So really, prison was almost a blessing, right, for you to kind of start down that road, maybe,
Yeah,
or
I
the
think
next
so.
next step towards it.
I mean, I think so. Well, like, the outcome's been amazing.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like it then, but the outcome has been amazing. But I think anything that we go through, any challenge, the outcome can be amazing. And I figured that out, that it was within my control to decide how the experience ended. And I followed a path that would bring me to to a place of joy. So
I love it. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, let's kind of elaborate on that a little bit more, because a lot of our guests and even guest co-hosts that have come on where they've gone through struggles where it has taken them to a whole different level in life, in a better place. So, guys, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
How do you start your morning? Start it with a cup of High Point coffee. Because no matter where you go or what you do, it's always better with coffee. High Point Coffee. What's your high point? Located on the corner of 7800 South and Redwood Road in West Jordan. And a special thanks goes out to our partners in Oxford, Mississippi.
This is Gregory, owner of Lift Up Concrete, proudly serving the Wasatch Front for the last 12 years, lifting sunken flatwork for both residential and commercial applications. Only fully trained professionals lifting concrete at your residence with the same quality of material and method used at every commercial job we ever do. Don't replace it, lift it. liftupconcrete.net, 801-792-4535. Contact us at liftupconcrete.net, or if you're looking for a complimentary quote, 801-792-4535. Again, 801-792-4535. Again, this is Gregory, Lift Up Concrete Lifting.
Hello, my friends. This is Brad Neufeld, and I want to thank you for tuning in to the Resilience Talk Network. You can listen to my show, Resilience, every morning, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. On my show, we will be discussing what it takes for you to overcome the day-to-day challenges that all of us face in life, as well as some of the devastating ones that may lead us to feelings of hopelessness and despair. It's my goal to provide you with the tools and skills that you need to overcome anything that is thrown your way. To find out more about my show, visit our website at www.resiliencetalk.com. That's www.resiliencetalk.com. And as always, until we meet again, go for everything that you want in life and make it happen.
Hey everybody, welcome back to The Other Side of Addiction. Al and JD here, and our special guests, Portia and Chad Louder. So guys, thank you so much. And again, this episode is brought to you by Lift Up Concrete out of Kaysville. Gregory and Tasha, man, I'm telling you, if you got sunken or settled concrete, give them a call. Once you meet with Gregory, that guy's like a flipping 10,000 pounds of dynamite packed up in this guy. He's very energetic. Hey, the first half of the show, oh my gosh. I mean, stories were just flashing through my head. It was almost like being followed by paparazzis. It just bulbs were going off with some of the stuff that you guys were sharing. But you were saying once you got into prison, you were just like, look, what's going to come out of this? I mean, because really, you could sit in there and sulk, feel bad for yourself, or you could say, you know what? The heck with this. There's something that's going to come out of this. And apparently with what you're doing now, I mean, that's what you've done, right?
Yeah, it's right as you were talking, I had a thought. My first week in prison was pretty rough.
I bet. Yeah, I can imagine.
It was just shocking because I'm looking around going, this is my life for 7 years. Everyone wears khaki, and it's cement and depressing, and the food is the same, and it's always bad. There's just not much to look forward to, And, I mean, that realization came after the first 4 days of sitting in my cell and not leaving. And when I finally got up and went out, I only went out to the day room, and I sat next to a girl named Bubbles. And I just sit there and cried. I'd look out the window. Bubbles is watching TV. She's really good at watching TV. She keeps looking over at me. And the thing is, she didn't know me at all. I just sat there in the chair and cried. And she would sit, and I just couldn't stop. And she goes, "It's okay, baby. You're going to be okay." And then she'd keep watching TV. Then she'd go, "Keep breathing. The pain will go away. I promise." And
Wow.
She didn't know my name, But how sweet. When I look back at it, I'm like somebody that cared enough about someone sitting at the table by her just to give her some comfort.
Yeah.
But I finally I just went, this has got to stop. So I went over to the track. It's like a dirt track, and with a barbed wire fence, and I'm walking around the track, and I said out loud to myself, "Portia, you need to get it together. This is not helping you. Quit feeling sorry for yourself. You have an amazing family and a husband who loves you. This is important. This might be the most important thing you ever do. You have to get it together. You have to make something of this time." And then I had a thought come to me, and I remembered a therapist that I met with prior to being sentenced, who I said I could never go to prison. And he said to me, it would be really hard to go to prison. He said, but if you were to stay here and stay in your addiction, he said, that would be worse. He goes, you could stay here for the next 7 years and be completely disconnected from your children and your family. He said, but if you went to prison, you could still become an amazing person in prison, and you can't do that in addiction. And it was like, I said, I can become an amazing person. I went back to the unit and I made a list of all the things I would need to do to become an amazing person. And it really did guide me. I mean, I taught classes called Become an Amazing Person. I made lists every day. I wrote lists of things that I could do. And, you know, my lists, I still do it every morning. And I write, you know, to be a good friend, to be a good listener, to love and support my husband, to have honest, open, meaningful relationships with others. I mean, they were things that I had the time to think about what really mattered and what becoming an amazing person meant to me. And I wrote those things out, and I'll give you one example. One thing I really wanted to do was I wanted to read to my daughter CJ, but I couldn't, you know, because in my addiction I didn't. And I thought, I want to do that. Well, I ended up having a roommate that spoke Spanish and wanted to learn English. And she said, Miss Portia, will you help me? Will you read with me at night? And I said, of course, you know, so we read sometimes an hour or two a day so that she could learn English. And I'm talking to Chad on the phone one night, and he says, hey, I started reading to CJ. And I thought, isn't it so cool how I can set these goals and somehow it works out? You know, I'm not able to be there to read for my daughter, but my husband's doing that with her. And I'm doing what I can where I'm at to become an amazing person. And so, yeah, there was that moment, and I had to recommit to myself over and over because there were some really painful things that I went through. Just the reality of the length of time that I was going to be gone. I didn't accept that the first year. I mean, I kept thinking, I've got lawyers, people are going to fight this, I'm going to get out. That was first year. Denial to me is my least favorite thing because I did it through my whole addiction, and it really kept me from healing. So once I reached the place where I went, oh, yep, I'm going to have to do this time. Super painful, but also super powerful, because then I can say, what am I going to leave prison with? Now I got to get real serious about what I'm going to do with this time. Yeah. And yeah, I worked the steps, made a really thorough list. It was took me 6 months. It was a spreadsheet. It was since I was 4 years old, everything I'd done to steal, everything I'd done to lie, any sexual misconduct, anything illegal. I made just a big old list, and I shared it with a group of women, and I buried it in the rec yard, and I said, I'm going home without that. I'm going home free, you know. That was a super powerful experience for me.
Did you feel like a lot of weight just came off your shoulders by doing that?
It is such a dichotomy because I personally spent my life trying to pretend I was a good person. Yeah. So afraid of the truth, you know. I did these things and afraid to say them out loud. And then as soon as I just said, this is what I have done, and I shared it with other people, it wasn't so heavy. It was like all those things that made me feel the worst inside were gone, and I felt power come into my life and freedom come into my life. Like, I don't worry what people think about me anymore. I just worry about who I am. You know, my personal integrity. Do I keep my commitment to myself, to everybody in my life? It's important to me. Whereas before, it's just, do people like me? Do they think I'm a good person? That stuff doesn't work. I guess when you're a felon, you give that up a little bit. You go to prison, you're like, well. Well. Yep, now what? Like, no, I'm kind of the lowest of the low. I say that all the time. People laugh. I'm like, well, so I'm free. You know? Yeah, basically. I'm free. But I mean, what you think is irrelevant. Now I can just get down to working on who I really am. So. Yeah,
and the reason why I asked that question, and Chad, I don't know, I hope you can elaborate on this a little bit, but you know, I kept my wife's addiction hidden for a long time because I didn't want my family to know, and I didn't want friends to know because I didn't want them to look at her differently. I didn't want them to look at me differently. And that was one of the mistakes that I was making that was eating me up inside. It just wasn't her addiction. I mean, I was adding more to it. And I remember when I finally started breaking down and started sharing, I mean, oh my gosh, it's like I could feel a lot lighter on my feet because I was sharing it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I think there for a while, I was basically blaming my wife for everything. You know, I'm completely broke because of her. I'm this because of her. I'm that because of her. And it took me a long time to figure out it wasn't. It was me. You know, but yeah. I mean, was it hard for you? I mean, did you just? Was it easy for you to share? Guess what? My wife's in prison. You know, I mean,
It was on the
I
news.
can imagine. Oh, so it wasn't hidden very well.
No, but don't you think? I mean, you can elaborate on that, but don't you think we went through that a little bit through our years where you felt pretty victimized by my choices?
Yeah, I think for sure. Two things come to mind as Al was talking. First, it really was hard to know when Portia was using or not, or she's just so has so much charisma, so much energy. She's beautiful, and it's just she could talk to people, talk to me, and just she's all right. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
just
not
all
that-
right.
Yeah, it's all right. It's
Yeah.
it's not that bad.
Yeah.
It's not that bad.
It was bad.
It was bad, but and as you look back, some of the events and things that took place, drugs would be the only explanation, I guess. How
Just brought a lot of darkness into our lives.
it really did.
Well, and as you said too, it made it to where you made not so sound decisions. Where if it hadn't been for that almost being like a high priority in life, you could have done things differently and not have been in that spot. But having that, and I've seen it again with my wife or my mom, and I mean my sister. Like I said, my sister's not here anymore with us. So again, kudos to you, Chad, for sticking it out. And again, Portia, you seem like an amazing woman, and again, obviously very much we're fighting for her, and I've seen it several times where same thing with Al. Like I've had those moments where I'm like, I really don't freaking know if like we're even meant to be together. Like I have no idea. I didn't. When I said I do, this was not the person standing there. Like I'm pretty sure, and so like.
Right.
And again, obviously we go through life and things happen, and there's things, the stresses of life come into where they can take over and push things in one way or the other. But it's like, again, I'm just going to relate to my wife, but like when she is on a substance or she can't hide it very well. She thinks she can. She thinks she's excellent. She thinks she's got it down pat. I'll look at her and she'll tell me she's fine, and I'm looking at her and she's like, I'm fine. And I'm like,
You're not fine.
I'm over here.
Yeah. I remember those days.
Different conversation. How many fingers am I holding up? 4. Huh? We got a problem.
Yeah.
But going through that, and again, and it's been the same way, like, having that thought, because I do love my wife, and I want good things for her and for our kids and stuff, but I've had those moments where I'm like, man, just take the kids and run. Like, are we going to be better off? And so, again, for you to go through that moment and that struggle, up until you went to prison, did you feel like her going there would be a way to help her as well? Did you feel that at all?
That's a great question. No, I didn't.
He answered that one quick.
You did not want me to go to prison.
Well, obviously, you don't want her to.
In hindsight, you're exactly right. In hindsight, is probably something needed to happen. There needed to be something to cause a correction because, the 15 years or whatever leading up to that, it wasn't happening. So, but at the time, no, it was devastating. To have people look at you. The case was very public. Portia was on the news, and I think to this day, if you Google either of our names, you'll get some.
It pulls up.
Yeah, the Salt Lake Tribune or the Deseret
it
News,
does.
or
It's okay. Actually, I got a total compliment on that the other day. You were so great on the courthouse steps. I was like, all right.
Okay, yeah.
Thanks. But I think that we were in our hardship, we were very united. And we had gone through hard things leading up to that. This went on for years. It really did. And I just think that we had made the decision that we were united and we would do it together. But leading up to it, there were times where it just was very painful and very difficult. And I think there were times where Chad was not happy about the decisions that I made with real estate, and which is understandable. But what Chad has that is his strength and his weakness is that he's one of the most patient men I've ever met. So he wrote it out. And he doesn't like to make decisions, but when he does, he commits hardcore. So when he married me, he was there, you know, our kids and pretty much everyone that knows him just sees him as the foundation, as like a rock. In fact, the first time you came to prison to visit me, and there's a girl there doing 20 years, and she goes, "Wow, you're so lucky. He's so solid." She's like, "Guys like that don't come to prisons, you know." She's like, "I don't know how you got him, but he comes here to visit you. You know, he's so solid," and he is. And I think that his patience and his willingness and his love for his children. He loves his children, and he loves me. And
I got to give that to you, Chad, too. Again, he took on your two oldest as your own, you know.
It's pretty awesome.
That says a lot about you. So
Yeah, it really does.
They're good kids.
Yeah.
He's a good man, and the kids are lucky to have him. All of them know that. They adore him. So.
You know, and with relationships, I mean, gosh, it's so tough, because I think you even touched on it, Portia. I mean, relationships are tough as it is. And I was in a class last year, and the guy that was teaching the class brought this up. He goes, people will get divorced for 20% of what their spouse does wrong. Other 80%'s great. Yeah. And then what they'll do is they'll get divorced to go find what they were looking for, just to find another 20% that's
no, they
that's
found the
wrong.
20%, and they got 80% that's a problem, and they're like,
yeah.
It's like playing relationship blackjack.
Grass isn't always greener on the other side, because I tried hopping that fence, and maybe it was green for about 3 feet, and then I stepped in, you know why, from there. You know, but yeah, to be able to hang on, and I'm not saying, you know, if you're in an abusive relationship where you're getting beat or sexually assaulted or whatever, yeah, you don't deserve to be in a relationship like that. Mm-hmm. You deserve better. But, you know, to be able to stick by your spouse through hard times, and because I really do believe, and it sounds like with you two right now, I mean, your relationship is incredible, and I've seen it with my wife and I mean, we're still going through some struggles, but we're handling things a lot differently now than what we would have handled them before, because we've learned a little bit more of the proper way of communicating, basically.
Yeah. Can I ask something?
No.
Going into the kid. Well, sorry, I'm
No.
going to interrupt you.
You cannot.
So I want to ask, because obviously affecting you guys as a couple, which is it's hard enough on a relationship, you know, and it definitely can test the strength between both of you. But also too, in dealing with the kids, you know, realizing, hey, you know, mom went to prison. You know, I'm curious as to how you helped them and coached them through it, to not one look down upon their mom, but to understand.
That's a great question. And I don't know that we did a great job of that. I guess we made it it was never a secret. Again, it was so open. You know, our neighbors knew, everyone knew what was going on. So our kids, one thing we have talked about, we didn't get them involved in any type of counseling, any professional help, and I think that, you know, I've never been I don't know anything about it, you know. I guess, to be honest, I've looked at it as if you're not strong enough, you got to go to counseling, have somebody help you. But, you know, let's just figure this out. You know?
I think a lot of people see it that way. I have a different opinion of it now, because I have been involved. I work at a treatment center, and even in prison, I did a year of treatment in prison, and I really learned the value of a variety of things that took place there. But I think if you want to know the things that we did right, the things that we did right were we openly asked for help. I reached out on social media and I said, I'm going to prison. Please support my children and my husband and my family. I let the school know. I let everybody know my kids might need help. I had teenagers that didn't really embrace that. I had a 7-year-old who was very supported and loved, and her school, the teachers, everyone knew, and they were helpful. So that worked. I remember right after I was sentenced and Chad pulling the kids in and just telling, that was, those are hard things to remember because they were hard, but just telling our kids, Jackson and Sadie, please don't let this be an excuse for you. Please don't. Life is hard enough at your age. Yeah. And I remember Jackson's, he's told me since he was overwhelmed with emotion that he said to me, Mom, I promise I'll help more. I'll help Dad with the kids. You know, I won't be mean to Sadie anymore. I won't, you know, it was like a death to all of us to lose me that way. And it was painful. And we had years of dysfunction because I was using drugs and because we had the legal system coming at us and just the instability of all of that and the fear of it. And our kids, I think our kids are heroes to go through what they've gone through and to be doing as well as they are. I'm proud of every one of them for where they're at in their lives. But I think a lot of that is because of Chad. I really do. I think because he was a really good example and he loved me. And I think that our children felt secure because they knew our dad loves our mom. And their dad kept going to work. He didn't, you know, he was at ball games with them, and he just supported the kids. And it was the best that he could do. He did the best that he could do in that situation, and our kids have benefited because of that. And I know that because I see kids that really struggle, that come from parents that are addicts, you know, in prison and also in treatment centers. And our kids have been fortunate to have his stability, and I think I'm a good example for them now. Of how to continue, you know, how to become your best self in any situation. And I have to believe that. I have to believe that as I continue to show up, that it will change your life, and that as I improve myself, it will change your life, because I miss so much of their life. You know, it's kind of like, I have to believe it. And I do. So.
Well, not giving up and stuff. I mean, that's a huge thing. And again, to you too, Chad, you know, on both ends. Like you said, you know, he stayed. He went right to work. He didn't, you know, skip beats in that aspect. Was there for the kids, for their extracurricular or their school, and to be there as a dad. You know, where I seen it in my own personal home. My dad got into the methamphetamine. Then my mom, trying to, like, understand it and fix their marriage, she went down the opioid hole. And it was like, just watch this whole thing implode on itself and watching it from the outside. And it was like, all of a sudden, I didn't have dad or mom. You know? And it was like, okay, well. F us kids, we'll figure it out. Yeah, good. Could you give me the manual and book how to do this shit, because I don't know what I'm doing. You know, and it's not. It's hard. But again, both of you, you know, having the strength to go through 4.5 years, you know, and to work past that stage of denial as you expressed, and to turn out on top like you are, and to work your way back into, you know, you strive for success. You strive for a bigger purpose and a bigger you, and you guys do it as a partnership. And it's like, to take that, go from the top down to the bottom, back to the top, is going to be, you know, and I'm going to outlead that, you know. Where are you guys going from here?
Porsche, where are we going?
You still trust me?
I still, she still got the keys. Oh my
gosh, I have so much hope. I feel like I found a passion and a purpose that I never would have understood. I love the women that I met in prison. Like you say, when I got home, I felt like I was missing something, that deep connection that I felt. So I went to work at a treatment center, and I wrote a book, you know, and I share publicly as much as I can, because I want to connect people out here to what really happens in prison. I want people to see the humanity, and that could be, you could say it about treatment centers or anyone who suffers. There's a beauty in that transformation and rising out of it that I want people to understand and celebrate. And so that's a big part of my passion. I want to get back into a prison as soon as possible. I have people that reach out to me, and I get to do work with organizations that are trying to take education into prisons, and a variety of other things that I'm working on. And I mean, I find a ton of joy, just like I got invited to go out next week out to Tooele and do a book club with a group of Native women that are drug addicted, and I'm like, I'm in, anytime I can go out and I can feel that connection. There's so much power when people want to change. So
Yeah.
Well, my uncle, he's a cop in that, and I've got friends that are in the correction industry,
So you can hook us up?
So actually, I was thinking about it because
And not with handcuffs.
no, but I could talk to John or Tony and see about their substance use. So with Utah County Jail and stuff or whatever.
Would
But
love it. Yeah.
because we've been trying to work on ways and stuff, and again having
Yeah.
some roadblocks that we've hit. But having you guys here definitely helping open up some eyes as well. But he said, a lot of people that end up in jail or in prison and stuff, he's like, majority of them, we have some people that are just straight up crazy, and that's probably a good place, right?
Right.
But we have majority of people that go in there, he's like, they're not bad people.
Right.
He's like, I've met some of the smartest freaking whips in jail and prison. He's like, they make me look like and I'm just a cop,
Yeah.
He's like, I meet them. He's like, the sad thing is they just make dumb decisions, or they
Yeah.
made a decision that,
Yeah.
had consequences, and
Or they got caught making a decision.
yeah,
Yeah.
and,
There you go. Yeah.
yeah, some of them are in there like, hey, how do we not get caught the next time kind of situation,
Yeah.
where he's like, a lot of them that come in there, they just, again, circumstances, situations too on the outside, it might be something that's pushing them. What is it that pushes them to the alcohol, to the drugs and stuff?
Yeah.
He's like, and they can't get rid of that. They can't seem to disconnect or build those boundaries.
Yeah.
And so they just return, and he's like, man, these guys could freaking, they're like the White Brothers or whatever, built the first airplane and stuff, It's like these people are so smart and intelligent.
Yeah.
And so, and
There's a lot
obviously,
of good people in there that have had really rough lives, and
Yeah.
I think there's a better way.
I think, and I
Yeah.
do believe that somewhat of our judicial, I'd have to say a lot of our judicial system's messed up. I do feel that, and I'm not saying that certain things and having institutions can't be a good thing, because
Yeah.
people do need it, right? But I do believe that our system is not just.
There's got to be a different way, and I mean, you talked about the people that you were in prison with, what good people they are, and JD and I, and we know, and everybody in this room knows, even people that have battled addiction. One of our goals here is on this show is to get rid of that stigma.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we've had people on the show who's lost their kids, lost families, who was eating out of dumpsters, and now you see where their life's at right now.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it a little bit earlier, that self-worth.
Yeah.
Because when you don't have that self-worth inside you,
Yeah.
I mean, life is how it is,
We can make a difference in the way we see others. When we come at a situation with love and compassion, when we, the girls that come into the treatment center and the girls that I met in prison, when I see them, when I see what they're worth and what they're capable of, and I tell them, I see you, I see how incredible you are, I know what your future looks like, you are a bright shining star. And they're looking at me going, I feel so low right now. And I said, girl, 2 weeks from now, you're going to be lit up, because you're going to be detoxing off drugs. In 2 more weeks, you're going to be talking and vibrant. And a year from now, you're going to change the world. So you got to fight through this, because you have too much to fight for. And we can do that, just like Chad did for me.
Yeah.
When you see the best in someone and you love that person and you do it without judgment, they rise to that. And I think that's what your podcast is doing. What I want to do is to say, we can make a difference. We can help each other. We're all in this together.
Yeah.
Our judgment will never make a difference. Prison, lock them up, throw away the key, never make a difference. But when we truly love people and see their worth and their incredible potential, we change the world. So.
Yeah, we had a gal on the show who does coaching and that, and she had some addiction as well. But Vanessa Brewer, we actually talked about her just a little bit earlier, but she said on her podcast, love overpowers everything.
It does.
I mean, it overpowers everything. And
Powerful.
it's funny how sometimes we see the beauty and the strength in other people before we actually see it in ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I'm pretty sure that I saw in my wife, that I knew there was something better inside there. Just had to break that shell, just at times I didn't want to tap on her. I just wanted to hit her with a damn sledgehammer. I'm like, come on. But now I get to see who this person is, and we've been together 15 years, and it's like I'm in a brand new relationship.
It's cool.
And so it's really cool. And I love how you said that it takes all of us. You know, I remember when I was telling my mom that I was going to do a podcast, and I had already been invited on a couple podcasts, and she asked me all the time, so how's the podcast going? I'm like, oh my gosh, it's going so great. You know, it's like we've got this family going, and things are just going nuts. And she goes, well, do you still talk on other podcasts? And I'm like, yeah. And she goes, well, isn't that like competition? It's like, no, because it's all of us getting our message out there. And the more we expand on this, somebody's going to start paying attention, and things are going to start changing.
Yeah.
Because that's what we need, you know.
I love that you're doing this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. I love both of you, your stories, and what you're doing. It's really neat.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate
your
it.
story, impact and stuff. You know, it takes a lot to go and to make the conscious decision. And I'm thinking about your story, because my dad, he's been in and out of prison, out of jail and stuff, and it's like, I mean, you know, like they have the cell now that's like, hey, resident of Mr. Greenhouse here. And he's like, hey, I'm coming back to C Block, you know, hey, I'm back. Yeah, yep, let's do this. You know, like it's a natural part of life. Hey, I'm home. Welcome, you know. Struts as he's walking through the bar, you know, like bar, you know, whatever, going in there. And everybody's like, but like having that lifestyle, like, that's not a lifestyle. It's not, you know, you have those that make that choice. And then you've got you know.
Yeah.
You guys, again, together fought through it, and the love that Chad, you have for Portia, and Portia same fact for Chad. But the fact of going through that, the decisions, the things that led up to that, but you also committed to the fact that you were doing 7 years and you got out in 4.5, right? So obviously you got some good behavior in there,
I got
right?
some good behavior,
right?
Yeah.
So, but you made a commitment to make a change.
Yeah.
And you stayed true to that commitment. And it wasn't being true, even at that point, being true to Chad or being true to your kids or anybody else around. It was being true to yourself.
I like that you brought that up. I think that when you can get to that place, as much as I love my children and I love Chad, when I got to the place where I decided that 100% for me, I'm worth it.
Yeah.
Like, I am going to become my best self, because even if I had nothing else, I'm worth fighting for. I want to do it for me. Like, and I kind of cleared out. My first 2 years were just thinking about my kids. If I do my best, I can help my kids. And then I went to treatment while I was in prison, and I looked at the therapist. I said, I just want to do this for me, you know. And I wrote a letter to my daughter Sadie, and I said, I want to get better for our family, but I want to get better even more for me. I'm tired of suffering, you know. And when you get to that place where you're willing to do it for you, like, that's a cool place to be.
Oh, it is. I was
change.
on a life coach session yesterday, but was talking to her, and the biggest thing that comes to it is loving yourself for you and being able to accept certain things, and then the ability to change it. But if you don't take care of you first,
Yeah,
and
got nothing to give.
Laban,
Laban.
he was even saying on his show, like, you can't serve other people with an empty cup.
Right.
You know?
Yeah,
You gotta have enough to give.
So
I just went through that for about a week. I was go, and I just crashed at the end, and I was like, what have I done wrong? Well, I just wasn't taking the time for myself.
Yeah, got to have that self-time.
Yep.
Guys, we're going to stop for another commercial break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Good morning, this is Leticia with Computer Hospital. We are your computer repair experts for both PC and Mac. We are your community resource for all of your computer repair needs. What makes us different is that we want to fix your computer. We also do free diagnostics. We charge a flat rate labor, which means that you won't pay by the hour. All of our computer repair is done in-house with a fast turnaround time, and same-day service is also available. Feel free to stop by anytime without an appointment. We're located in Sandy at 8721 South State Street. Again, that's 8721 South State Street, or call us at 801-987-3993. Again, that's 801-987-3993. This is Leticia with Computer Hospital, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Hello there, this is Brad Neufeld with the Resilience Talk Network, and I would like to introduce to you Taffytown, one of our newest sponsors. Let me introduce you to Derek.
Hi, I'm Derek from Taffytown. We're proud sponsors of the Other Side of Addiction podcast. Taffy Town is a family-owned and operated business, still operating in the Salt Lake City area for over 100 years. We manufacture some of America's best saltwater taffy.
What makes Taffy Town stand out from all of the others?
We have a unique recipe, a whipped-style recipe that incorporates egg whites, evaporated milk, real sea salt. It's a unique product that is flavorful, melts in your mouth, and the best part is we probably have a flavor for anyone's liking, a flavor for any reason, for any season. We have unique flavors like chicken and waffles, maple bacon, frosted cupcake. New this year was a pineapple ghost pepper flavor.
That's awesome. Where can people find out more about Taffy Town and all of its products?
You can check all of this stuff out. All of our products are available for sale on taffytown.com. We ship for free from our website, so all of our pricing on there is shipping included. Oftentimes we offer special promotions and discounts to our loyal customers, so do be sure to sign up for an account, and we look forward to seeing what we can do to make you smile with our taffy.
Where are you located?
We are currently located at 9813 South Prosperity Road in West Jordan, Utah, just at the foothills of the Copper Canyon mine.
Derek, taffy has always been a great gift to give. What are some of the creative ways Taffy Town can help say thank you to others?
Yeah, if you're looking for gift ideas, whether to say thank you to friends or family, or maybe to your clients after such a difficult or successful year that you've had, you could look no further than to get a gift idea from taffytown.com. We offer prepackaged gift boxes that say that it's saltwater taffy from the city of the Great Salt Lake, and it tells a little bit about the history of our community and making candy for so long. You can also do customized gifts to pick out just the right flavors or colors of candy for that special someone, and deliver even a personalized message in that box to them. So please feel free to check out taffytown.com for any gift ideas this season.
Thank you so much, Derek. Please visit taffytown.com. That's taffytown.com to find out more about the products and services that Taffy Town offers. You won't be disappointed.
Do you know someone who's gambling with death due to an addiction? Do you know someone whose life is being turned upside down due to a loved one that's battling with addiction? Hi, I'm Al Richards. I am the host of the Other Side of Addiction podcast. I started the podcast due to my wife's battle with alcohol. Let's just say I became addicted to her addiction. Our podcast is helping people understand a little more about those who have battled addiction and those who are hurting from their addiction. Through raw vulnerability, we share stories that help uncover the root causes of addiction. Shame felt on both sides, matter of the conscious and subconscious mind, continued beliefs, and often confusing paths of recovery. We collaborate with real people and their stories, as well as licensed professionals, to help our audience gain a better understanding of addiction. You can find us on Resilience Talk Network. You can also find us on Facebook at Mr. Al Richards. That's Facebook at Mr. Al Richards. You can also find us on YouTube. Just look up the Other Side of Addiction podcast. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Other Side of Addiction. Hey, before we get started here, we do want to say this episode is brought to you by Lift Up Concrete. We also have a few other sponsors who have reached out and been very kind and believe in our cause. We want to say thank you to my buddy Troy Hotto with I Am Power Ninja Real Estate. We also want to say thank you to TJ McLeland with Fitness Realty, and one of my new friends that I met a couple months ago, Tatiana Rose from Advanced Business Books. So guys, thank you, and again, a huge thank you to Brad Newfield with Resilience Talk Network. Thank you, Brad. We couldn't do this without you, and believing in our cause, and I'm very blessed that we were introduced. And and a big thank you to all our listeners. and all our guest co-hosts and all our guests. I mean, geez almighty, the list can go on and on. We're just very blessed and grateful that we're in this spot. And I could spend another half hour just giving thanks, but
Right.
yeah, because we're just so blessed of where this show has gone. So, Portia, you have really done some amazing things since you've gotten out. You got your book, so we got Living Louder.
Yep.
This pretty much tells the story, what you shared a little bit, just barely a little bit about it today.
Yep.
How can people find your book?
They can find it on Amazon right now. Maybe after the first of the year, we're talking about going into some stores, but right now, if you go to Amazon and look up Living Louder or Portia Louder, it is there. And I also want to let people know, if they've got a family member or someone struggling, or they have any questions about prison or addiction, but mainly, I get a lot of people that reach out to me about loved ones that are dealing with either an investigation or they're currently incarcerated. Please reach out to me on Facebook. I'm really good at getting back to you. I have an Instagram account, but Facebook, I write a lot on Facebook.
Okay.
And while I was in prison, I wrote on a blog. So I was fortunate that I was able to really document my experiences. And so writing a book was easier for me because I had those experiences documented. But I still do that on Facebook. I share experiences. And if you want to send me a message, I will reach out to you. And if you have a loved one incarcerated, I'll write them letters. I love to be connected to that work, and I want to serve in any way that I can. So
That is really cool. Yeah, that's awesome. And you work for a recovery place?
I work for Renew Wellness. We are an all-women's treatment center in Harriman. Love them. It is a place of peace and healing. We are a smaller facility. I think we can take 10 women right now. A lot of one-on-one, and I get to share my experiences. They made me a T-shirt recently. A couple of the girls there, the baddest prison biatch ever. I was like, that's right.
There you go.
And I showed them how to make a prison cake, and they, I love them and they love me, and I love working there. So, and Renew Wellness has been. I've worked there for the last couple of years, and I appreciate the connection that we share and the healing that takes place there. So.
And you're willing to go out and speak at other places, I mean, right? So if you guys are looking for a keynote speaker to share a little bit about this, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I've been asked to do that.
reach
and
out.
I love to share this message, so I'm always willing. I mean, I should say always, because I just told Chad, I'm like, I probably should narrow in what I'm doing with my life right now. But if you're interested in hearing more, I even had a corporation reach out and ask me if I would speak in December more. Some continuing education for a group of accountants. I'm like, really? What? I guess I'm going to tell them what not to do.
That's a good point.
I don't know. But, I think I learned some things, too, that I'm happy to share and enjoy doing.
That'd be a good book.
What
not to do?
What not to do. Good book title.
How to go to prison.
Well, it sounds like you have a lot of books to read, but when you get down and around to reading mine, I want to hear what you think.
I will. Absolutely. Okay. I need to get a copy of it. So.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for taking time out of your afternoon to be with us here. JD even touched base on it, and I just cannot wait to get into the studio every single week, really. Awesome. Even my wife Janan, who's now sitting here in the studio, she's like, you found something that you really, really love. And I think that goes with all of us. Charity comes in, takes time out of her day to take pictures, and Brad spends many hours behind the scenes, helping us get out a good show. And yeah, JD used to drive like 2 hours just to get here. Now it's only like 45 minutes, so which is good.
Good for you. God bless you guys for the work you're doing. Good for you, and thank you for having us. Yeah, we're grateful.
Absolutely. Before we, go ahead, JD.
With that said, again, to all the listeners listening to this podcast, and that again, thank you so much for all your support and love and supporting the cause. Again, make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and share it with anybody that you believe or feel that needs to hear this message. So, thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anything you would like to share with our audience before any words of wisdom or from a badass prison biatch?
I think I would like to share that wherever you're at, do not give up, that there is something worth fighting for, that you have a beautiful life waiting for you. And you just never know. Your future self is cheering you on, and you can't imagine how good it can get. So please just keep fighting. That would be my words of wisdom. What about you, Chad?
I like that.
Stand by your lady.
He's going to stick with that.
Oh my gosh. You wonder how in the heck this guy stayed. It's because he's like, Portia, am I staying?
Yeah. Is everything good?
Yeah, he's awesome.
Guys, again, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks
really
for
appreciate it.
Okay.
Guys, thank you again for all your support and all the messages that we're getting. Please keep sending them in. We're very, very grateful for them, and we appreciate them all. We're going to end you with this as we do every week. Remember, addiction is giving up everything for one thing. Recovery is giving up one thing for everything. Wow.